Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. And this is a paid request for Kingpin. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting type of videos, whether it be a topic, reaction, commentary, review, re-review, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. I also do have a CashApp as well for those interested. I'll get to them as soon as I can. All those links are down in the info box. And for those who send them, thank you. I really appreciate it. This time is for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which, even when I first saw this movie, I always thought it was just okay. Even watching it again, I think it's just okay. I do think the first one is the best of the three. I would probably say I would rather watch this than the third one. And I definitely think Michael Rooker steals the show. I think Michael Rooker as Yondu is easily the best thing in the film. Getting to know a bit about his character, a little bit of his history, including the Ravagers led by Sylvester Stallone. Or at least Stallone being a big part of it. And what happens at the end with that character. Like, Michael Rooker definitely, again, I would say the MVP of the film. Always liked him as an actor. He was creepy in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. He was great in Cliffhanger. It was cool to see a bit of a Cliffhanger reunion with Michael Rooker and Stallone in the same scene, in the same frame. So that was neat to see. Other stuff, Kurt Russell. Always great to see Kurt Russell in the film, and he gets to play the bad guy here, Ego, a celestial being, a god type of character who you find out is Chris Pratt's dad. I do like Kurt Russell. I think while the role, I don't know, just something about it's not my favorite Kurt Russell character. I can't really pinpoint what it is about it that I don't love about the character. Kurt Russell definitely brings what's there as much life as he can with it. By the lines and saying lines like, I don't take a whiz. You know, that type of stuff. Like the way he says it, the way he employs this dialogue. It's definitely one of those things that, kind of like Thor Ragnarok and other movies, like everything has to be a joke. And like you see a bit of that was Guardians of the Galaxy 1, but it felt even more so like everything's a joke, a joke, a joke. And yes, granted, a bit more lenient when it comes to Guardians, because I think it fits a bit more in that Guardians realm with what James Gunn is doing. But you know, not all the humor works for me, I'll put it that way. Didn't mind the opening. Well, the actual opening is 1980 Missouri, where you see D.H. Kurt Russell going with Chris Pratt's mom, that character, and a little bit of seed that's going to come into later with what Kurt Russell's character is really trying to kickstart, so to speak. And then you have the Guardians, and they gotta stop this interdimensional monster for these golden sovereign people. I do like the idea that the battle is all the backdrop in the background while you see the little Groot dancing, and I don't mind the song Mr. Blue Sky. Very chipper, very high energy. They get the ball rolling for the movie. And how each of the characters, they kind of slam and react to it. Including like Zoe Saldana, when it does hi, she's like, hi, and then goes right back to the battle. I thought that was kind of funny. So one leads to another. They defeat the creature. They are rewarded from the sovereign people. Rocket Raccoon's being a dick. He steals the batteries he's not supposed to, so then they get chased. Something or someone saves them after this space battle. And the ship crashes. There's a bit of friction between Rocket, because it is Rocket's fault. He's the one who stole the batteries. One leads to another. There's some friction. Kurt Russell arrives with his associate, the lady Mantis, who's an empath, can feel emotions, says, "Hey, I'm your dad." Then the group separates. So Batista, this is before he started looking like a girl for some reason, where now he's wearing like women's clothes and a bunch of pearl necklaces, like looking like Barbara Bush for some reason. I don't know why he's looking like Barbara Bush, but okay. This is one, he was looking like Batista. And I do like the character of Drax. I think he does have some funny moments where he's saying stuff very literally. Yeah, sometimes it went a bit too much of it, but there was still enough there that I did enjoy. I will say though, his character is rather pointless in these movies. Rather pointless. I guess you could say because of his interaction with Mantis, they're able to get some vital information, or she's able to let her guard down and tell a bit what's going on. Although with the other stuff going on, it seemed like they would find out eventually anyway. Where like Gamora and then Nebula, those two fight. But then pretty quickly Nebula's like, well, I just wanted a sister. And then it seemed like pretty quickly then she's kind of calmed down a bit. So, yeah, I'm not sure if the write on Nebula was the best on that. But they fall down, they see all these skeletons, like hundreds of skeletons, so I think that would clue them in into, yeah, something bad's going on without Mantis. But still. But so yeah, I wish Drax, I really think about like, Batista's done with Marvel. That character is done. Did he really do anything in these movies? He was some fun comic relief, don't get me wrong, he was a fun character. Because of his comic relief, I think Batista did do a good job. But for a guy who's supposed to be this big warrior, and of course he was never going to kill Thanos because it's Thanos, so it was never going to be him. But he had this drive of his family was killed, and like, did he really amount to anything? Not really. Like as a character in terms of what he actually did physically. Not much. So I thought that was kind of a bit of a waste there. And yeah, I liked his performance. I liked his the comedy bits. I know for some, I can understand, got a bit tiresome, but I do think he was one of the more funny characters. But yeah, I forget where I was going with that. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention that was interesting, that one of the golden folks, the Sovereign, watching him, I'm like, there's this guy that's with, standing next to like the Queen or whatever. I'm like, is that who I think it is? It's Ben Broder. Crichton from Farscape. Now, of course, if you watch the Farscape TV show, that's the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, literally, if you watch the Farscape, the TV show, Ben Broder is pretty much Chris Pratt's character, falling in love with an alien, granted more human looking, not green, but just like, Chris falls in love with Zoe Saldana's character. You have the warrior character, kind of like Drax. You have the one who's all about the schemes and a bit of a smaller character, just like Rocky Raccoon. And then you look at Farscape, it's like, well, that's fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. I wonder if that is the reason why Ben Broder got the role. I don't know. I'm just saying it's interesting that he was in it. He doesn't have a whole lot to do. There's only like one scene I remember him in, but still, it's nice to see him in there. Like I say, it's nice to see Kurt Russell in there. Obviously, there's no way to fit in the story, but it's too bad we never got a Tango and Cash reunion with Kurt and Sly. But like I said, we do need a cliffhanger reunion. I do like their scene. It's actually one of my favorite scenes of the movie. While Michael Rooker and his men have some R&R, he sees Sly, goes up to him. It's a nice, very intense scene where Sly's like, You broke our hearts, You know Ravagers don't deal with children. I didn't know that was going on. Yeah, you didn't know because you just cared about the money. You're being greedy. You broke all of our hearts. So like I said, it was cool to see Sly and Michael Rooker there together. I was being a big fan of Cliffhanger. And like I said, one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And I do think Michael Rooker is easily the best character in the film. Because he has some regret. When he has a little flying arrow thing, he has the most badass scene where he tells like an entire ship of people to like an OP, ridiculous, put all the Cheetos in, out, and in again, where it's like, he literally kills everybody. I'm like, this is like the most unstoppable being. Like, with this, he just stopped Thanos. That's the problem with Thanos. All you needed was him. He could have used it, just killed Thanos. Like, very OP, but it was an entertaining scene. Just I like Michael Rooker. I will say, even when I first saw this, when the team separates, it was, I don't know why I say like that, but it was a bit disappointing because you want to see the group together. Now we see that at the beginning, but then a good chunk of it is them separated, and you want to see Rocket and Groot with them and kind of them interact with each other, and the fact you only get that at the beginning and a bit at the end. I don't know, it sounds stupid, but I wanted to wait for them to be in the entire film together, as dumb as that sounds. And that's the thing, like, I looked at the Guardians themselves. Chris Pratt is pretty much, daddy issues. I don't know if that's my dad. I always thought my dad was, I would lie to the kids, say my dad's David Hasselhoff. And because of the part of his story, he doesn't really have a whole lot to be the charming, fun Han Solo type of Quill in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just him dealing with his dad, and Chris Pratt does fine. I do like him as an actor. It's just because of the way the story dictates, he doesn't really have a whole lot of time to have fun with his character like he did in the first one. Gamora, again, Zoe Saldana does a fine job. It's just with pretty much this whole thing with his sister, where she's a bad guy, but then she's not a bad guy, but she's not that bad of a bad guy, but she kind of is, but she's not. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't mind Nebula in terms of, I don't mind the actress. I like the look of the character, but it's like, okay, she's a bad guy, she's not a bad guy, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Kind of started losing interest. I don't know why, I just did. Drax, like I say, Batista has some funny bits, like when the empath admits to Chris Pratt's secret of loving Zoe Saldana, and Drax like laughing at him, she told your most important secret, and just how brutally honest with Mantis, like how ugly she is, without any tact, without holding back any. So yeah, Batista was funny. Mantis, I never cared for that character. I know she serves the purpose here, ultimately to calm and give some time for the Guardians to calm down, try to make Ego, Kurt Russell's character, sleep. So yes, she does serve a purpose because of her power, but I never cared about her character. I found her kind of annoying. I did find her kind of irritating. I think what was fun about the first Guardians is we got to see a lot of variety of environments that they were showcasing, where they were in jail, then they break out of jail, then they do this. While here, it's mostly on this planet, or the prison ship, because Roger Raccoon, Groot, and then ultimately Yondu, they get captured. They get put in the space station jail. So it's either this planet or jail. So it's really just two locations. So it doesn't feel as expansive. It doesn't feel like a globe-trotting, not globe, but galaxy-trotting event like the first one felt like. And then the ending, once again, it's one of those big CGI orgasms, smorgasbord endings where everything is green screen, special effects everywhere. Chris Pratt finds out who Ito really is. It is his dad, but his plan is he puts seeds in all these planets and he wants to expand, and he needed a son or a daughter who had the same power, and if he didn't, he killed them all. But this time he's found someone who does have the power, and I'm going to control you. And then for some stupid reason admits that, oh yeah, I put a tumor in your mom's head. I have no idea why in the hell he admits that. I thought this was very lazy writing. It's like, yeah, if he hears that, he's going to break out of his mind-controlling power thing. But why would you say that in the first place? Why would you admit that in the first place? Oh, by the way, yeah, I put that tumor in your mom's head. What purpose did that serve? I know it served, well, now he broke off and tries to shoot him and won't control him anymore. But, like, why would you say that to begin with? Why? It was so stupid. It was lazy. Now, again, I do like Michael Rooker. I do like the kind of back and forth he has with Roger Raccoon. I thought that was actually nice, where I know what you really like because you're just like me. That kind of shuts Roger Raccoon up because there's a truth to that. Then the Lord Groot, I thought it was kind of a funny bit. Granted, maybe went on a bit too long, but I thought it was a funny bit where Groot didn't understand. He kept bringing the wrong thing there. I did like Roger Raccoon making fun of the guy named Taserface. Like, what kind of stupid name is that? I know some people may not like the joke. I can understand why. It's like kind of a lazy joke, but I don't know. I think just the way Bradley Cooper delivered the dialogue as Roger Raccoon kind of made me smirk a bit. And then when they finally do get out, which I think was I think it's James Gunn's brother. I think it's James Gunn's brother. I forget the name of the character. But yeah, I think it's James Gunn's brother, who's the associate for Michael Rooker's character. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I think it is, though. Gives him the arrow. Again, Michael Rooker just goes to town. Just kills the whole damn spaceship. Like 100 people. I'm like, how the hell do you do that? But he does. It was kind of fun to see that. I'm not big on the song they use. I kind of wish it was more like badass fitting song. I know AC/DC's overplayed, but I kind of wish... I do wish... Rish? What the hell is Rish? Wish with a W. I do wish it was like an AC/DC type of song, or like something more like 80s, like rock, like badass song. But yeah, I'm not big on the song they used in it. I forget what the hell the song was called, but I wish there was a different song used during that scene. But again, Michael Rooker's a badass and they take the ship. Now, a joke that didn't work for me is, Rocket, we need to get there real quick so they don't go through all these warps, and by doing so they have all these weird, like, goofy faces. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I just kind of rolled my eyes with that. Like I said, the movie would kind of be like, it's alright, it's okay. Like, Drax, you know, he has some funny lines, but he doesn't really have a whole lot to do. Like, Gamora, okay, other than going with her sister, she doesn't have a whole lot to do. Chris, other than dealing with his daddy issues, doesn't have a whole lot to do. But then Michael Rooker would come in and, you know, again, kill an entire fucking spaceship, you know, hundreds of people, bad guys, or crash his ship and tell Kurt, hey, jackass, and ram the ship right into Kurt Russell. Or when the ship explodes, he's flown down and Chris like, oh, you like Mary Poppins. Is he cool? Sure. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Like, yeah, Michael Rooker was the MVP. He was easily my favorite character in the movie. Just, I think his stuff really stuck out in a positive manner. I think Rocket, he has some good things in here as well. The badass scene he had before he got caught, where he's in the woods and he's got all these traps, and even the bit where he's like jumping on all of them, putting all these things on and zaps them all. Or he's like going back and forth, jumping back and forth to beat these two people up. That was a nice badass moment for Rocket. So I would say Yondu, Michael Rooker, Rocket, Bradley Cooper. I think those two characters were the best serviced in this movie, if that makes sense. And the others are kind of just there on the planet, kind of just. I'll admit I didn't mind the bit when Gamora's fighting her sister, where she grabs this gigantic fucking cannon, and then like does some wiring. It's like, with how big it is, it's just like the biggest Gatling gun ever. I thought that was kind of funny. I did smile at that. Another funny bit with Rocket Raccoon is him trying to teach little Groot on this bomb because they gotta go to the brain of Ego and blow it up, and they can't fit, so okay, you gotta do this. And Groot's like, no, no, that's the wrong thing. Rocket Raccoon's trying to explain. No, you don't hit this button. No, no, I told you the same. That's the same thing you did. Are you not listening to me? I thought that was kind of funny. I thought that was kind of cute. A Rocket trying to explain to Groot, no, you cannot hit this or we're all dead. Of course, you know eventually it's not going to hit it. Although if it did, that'd be pretty funny. It'd be a hell of a twist on an ending. Well, I know it'd be funny, but I'd probably like laugh and like shock. Like, what? But to keep some time, Chris Pratt kind of gathers his celestial powers and fights Caruso. And again, you get like this big, over-the-top CGI fight, which I think at this point, there are films I like that do feature that. Don't get me wrong. There are. It's just, even rewatching them, it's not the most exciting bits of action for me. As a guy that grew up in the 80s and 90s, watching finales and Hard Target, Hard Boiled, Rambo 2, Rambo 3, real helicopters, real tanks, real everything. People give Rambo 3 a hard time. You look at the ending of Rambo 3, that's all done for real in camera. And it still works to me to this day. Speed, cliffhanger, True Lies even. Terminator 2. Yes, there's CG, but there's a lot of, the environments and a lot of the stuff going practical. The effects on the Terminator itself for Stan Winston, all that stuff. It just, Aliens. Seeing that back there with the power loader scene. Get away from her, you bitch. When it's just this big smorgasbord alien, this CGI, it just, CGI is going to have a less life of less longevity. I don't know how to put it. Less longevity of holding up than practical effects will. CGI will not hold up longer than practical, because you cannot get more real than real. It will be quicker outdated. And that's the phrase I'm looking for. CGI would be more quicker outdated. And there are films back in the day that I like that has not the good... some pretty bad CGI. Like Mortal Kombat 95, I love that movie, but it has some bad CGI. Deep Rising, love that film with True Williams, not the best CG. Although there's a lot that I can have fun and tolerate. But there is some practical, at least some of the gore and other stuff. Like the bodies they find and other stuff. There's a lot of CGI in that. But maybe just like at this time, especially films afterward, it just, oh, here's another big CGI smorgasbord. And they're not really action scenes that I'm going to remember. I'm not going to remember the scene where Chris Pratt and Caruso are flying towards each other. Other than the bit I thought was kind of funny where they turn to something and Chris Pratt turns to a giant Pac-Man. I did forget about that. I watched it again. I did chuckle at it. Because, like, Caruso becomes like a bigger version of himself, and then Chris becomes like a giant Pac-Man and tries to eat him. I thought, okay, that was kind of funny. I will admit that. I kind of wish there was more of that. But again, things are trying to be more serious, so here I am now saying, what, should I flip more comedy into it? So I did it. But it doesn't have to be comedy, it just has to be, maybe a bit more of his creativity, like what a kid in the 80s would think of. But anyway, again, maybe that would deem a bit too cartoonish. Although, I mean, the rest of the film kind of is doing that anyway, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I would say I still don't mind the film. I still think it's okay. I like Caruso, although he's not one of my favorite characters Kurt has played, but I think Kurt does what he can with the role. Michael Rooker's the MVP, which I'll get more to him in a minute. Rocket Raccoon, I didn't mind the usage he had, voiced by Bradley Cooper. Groot was there. I mean, some were annoyed by him. I thought the little thing was cute. Was cute enough. Batista had some funny moments. Although, again, his character doesn't really have much to do. Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana, they're good. Just, again, their characters are kind of... I don't know. It's weird to say they were the less interesting characters. Which I know is strange to say, but... maybe just because the stories they were put upon... like, you knew where it was going, it was predictable, and, I don't know, just... yeah. Kind of just there. The action scenes, other than the opening, just the way it was done, where it was in the backdrop. And then I would say when Roger Raccoon has his badass moment, and then when Michael Rooker has his badass moment. Like the action at the end, I'm kind of, kind of whatever. Because you're fighting this big giant celestial god thing, you can only do so much. Or there's these drones where just Michael Rooker and Nebula, they kind of do this laser thing where, and they destroy all the drones. Kind of like the last Starfighter. Remember the last Starfighter was like, it just kills everybody? Or was it the missile? Whatever it did. Yeah, it killed the fleet. Last Starfighter. Just had that one special move. It's kind of what it did there. But the action wasn't really that memorable in the third act for me. Maybe that's just me. What was memorable, though, was Yondu. I would say spoilers, but people know it, but still, spoilers. Chris Pratt, they detonate the thing. The Guardians have left. Chris Pratt is there. He gave them enough time, held Caruso at bay long enough for the bomb to explode. He thinks he's going to die. Michael Rooker comes in. I do like the line he says, "He may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy." He gives his protection, his shield, has him fly up, and saves him. I do like Chris Pratt's performance. Like, no, what are you doing? Don't do that, no. I do like Michael Rooker, where he gives a little bit of a pat. Like, hey, it's okay, man, it's okay. I thought that was rather sweet. Isn't it sad that Michael Rooker got a better... Yondu, the character of Yondu, think about this. The character of Yondu got a better death than Luke Skywalker, than Han Solo, than Captain Kirk. There's more. I mean, just those three alone. Yondu got a better death than those three characters. Falling off a bridge, it was fun. Thrown into a trash after being stabbed by your dickhead son. Run out of batteries, and you fade away like a fart in the wind. Yondu got a better death scene. And then they have the funeral, and Stallone, and they all arrive, and I guess he didn't disappoint us. Sly's like, no, he did not. It was cool to see Sly in there. You know, I'm a Sylvester Stallone fan. I know Rambo. I know Go Figure. My username is Rambo. Raph for life. But it doesn't mean I love everything with Stallone in it. I've been honest about awful films he's done, like Bat Trace. And I did not like Escape Plan 2. I didn't even like Escape Plan 1, let alone 2 and 3. Expendables 4 was awful. Expendables 3 was awful. But he's done stuff with Marvel in this film. He did stuff with DC and James Gunn's The Suicide Squad film. I did like Sly in both. I thought he did a good job in both. I liked him as Teen Shark. I thought that was a fun movie. I did like him in this. I'll admit, part of me would have been interested if they had done a spin-off where you see in the end credits, like, he and the team, his team got back together. So there's a guy made of crystals, which I think is voiced by Michael Rosenbaum. Lex Luthor from Smallville. He's got a good podcast on YouTube. I think it's him. Ving Rhames as, like, pretty big guy. Michelle Yeoh. I think this helmet, I think it's Miley Cyrus voices her. And then this one red creature who's got like the Doctor Strange powers. I'm like, why can't we see the movie with these guys? It seemed like they were going in that direction and then nothing ever happened. Because this is 2017. So damn, this is already 7 years ago. I mean, granted, the whole thing with James Gunn, and he was fired, but then he was not fired, and did Guardians 3, but then after that, then he went over to do DC. And then Guardians is pretty much done. I don't know if they'll ever do anything with Guardians again, now that I think about it. I don't think they will. For one, that's just kind of finished. But I would have been curious if Stallone starring in this type of film, if done well, but on the flip side, you know me, how tired I am of superhero films, but yeah, I did like the bit where, you know, they honor Michael Rooker's character, the funeral bit. Thought the ending was worked out fine. And I mean, Michael Rooker, even though he had like 2 appearances, was still a more memorable character than a lot of these, still more memorable character than Captain Marvel. And how many films has she been in now? So there you go. So yeah, Michael Rooker I really enjoyed. He was, to say one final, he was the MVP of this. So yeah, at the end of the day, I do have a lot of issues with the film. I still think it's just okay. It's alright. It's not a film I rewatch much. I don't put it up there with the other ones, like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, or Iron Man, or Thor, or Captain America films, or other stuff, but I don't hate it either. So with that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.